My Josh today is on the way. The Complete Jewish Bible says it this way. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask about the ancient paths. Which one is the good way, and take it. And you will find rest in your souls. Jeremiah 6:16. Now, according to the Bible Gateway website, the word way occurs 887 times in the Complete Jewish Bible. Also, in the NIV, the word way occurs 790 times. So, our ways must be extremely important to God if it is mentioned this many times in His written word. We need to choose our paths very wisely, and we cannot be lukewarm about it. For God will vomit you out of His mouth if you are lukewarm. Revelations 3:16. I say this because we need to be fully on fire for God. Sadly, many people are not. And we need to ask ourselves the ultimate question. Am I fully on fire for God? Now, we all know that a path is something we walk on, but consider this definition. A path is a way of life, a conduct, or a thought. The Cleveland Clinic Wellness Center breaks down the average human thought like this. Every person has one thought per second, with 2,500 to 3,500 thoughts per hour, 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. 95% of our thoughts are repeated. They're the same each. And here's the actual eye-opening thing. On average, 80% of our thoughts are negative. Unfortunately, our brains are hardwired to take in and register them deeply the negative thoughts than the positive ones. Day in and day out, we repeat the negative thoughts over and over again, and Satan loves that. Okay. In Jeremiah 21:8 it says, Adonai says, look, I am preparing you with the way of life and the way of death. Also in John 14:6 it says, that's too small for me to read. It says,
I am the way.
I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one can come to the Father except through me.
Amen.
If we do not have Yeshua in our lives, we are starting our journeys on the wrong path. Yeshua is an essential key for our lives. So ultimately, which way do we go? Is it God's way or your own way? Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is any offensive ways in me, and lead me in the ways of everlasting. Psalms 139, 23-24. Some offensive ways of walking on the wrong path are the 7 deadly sins of pride, lust, greed, envy, sloth, wrath, and gluttony. Also, there are 6 things Adonai hates, 7 that are detestable to him. A haughty look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that plots wicked schemes, feet swift to do evil, a false witness who lies with every breath, a person who stirs up conflict amongst brothers in his community. Proverbs 6:16-19. Also in Isaiah 59:7-8 says, Their feet rush into sin. They are swift to shed innocent blood. They pursue evil schemes. Acts of violence marks their ways. The ways of shalom they do not know. There is no justice in their paths. They have turned them into crooked roads. No one who walks along them will know shalom. Hear, O earth, I am bringing disaster on this people. It is the consequences of their way of thinking. For they pay absolutely no attention to my word, and as for my Torah, they reject it. Jeremiah 6:19. I found this quote from Victoria Adino. Always think extra hard before crossing over to a bad path. If you were weak enough to cross over, you may not be strong enough to cross back over. So ultimately, what needs to be done in order to get onto the right path? Yeshua spoke to his people, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. John 8:12. Okay, direct me in the path of your mitzvot, for there I find the light. Turn my heart towards your statutes and not towards selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word. Psalms 119:35-37. Now part of walking on the right path is by how we make the right choices. Realize how important the decision is. The problem often isn't knowing which road is the right one, but facing the possibility that it isn't going to be a fun trip. You will risk being rejected and persecuted. On top of it, you must count your cost. For God is watching and desiring to reward you if you make the right decisions. So how do we make the right decisions? The 10 Commandments. We all should know how important these are in order to walk in the ways with Yeshua. We should always trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understandings. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. So, if you could have seen the end from the beginning, would you have chosen a different path? So in conclusion, which way do we need to follow? The answer is clearly God's way, because the other way is not the plan God has for you. When we choose the right path, remember what God says. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Now, lastly, I would like to close with a prayer from Ephesians 3:14-19. I fall on my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth receives its characters. I pray that from the treasures of his glory, he will empower you with inner strength by his Spirit, so that the Messiah may live in your hearts through your trusting. Also, I pray you will be rooted and founded in love, so that you, with all of God's people, will be given strength to grasp the breadth, the length, the height, and the depth of the Messiah's love. Yes, to know it, even though it is beyond all knowing, so that you will be filled with all the fullness of Adonai. Amen and Shavua Tov.